What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're watching via YouTube or finding us on the podcast later on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, all that jazz. We thank you for tuning in. Obviously, not the start to the week that we wanted. We knew one team in Denver was going to get their head completely kicked in yesterday, which shockingly, they didn't. They actually had a chance to win the game, but so is the Denver Broncos. And then you had the Denver Nuggets crushing loss last night. We'll get to all of that today, and of course, we'll review our pick'em, which I must say, feeling pretty comfortable going into next week again. Me and Brandon are tied. What do you know, baby?
I mean, we had what, one or two opposite picks.
We had two differences. You won one, and I won.
Yeah, look, you're only ahead by what, 2-3 games?
I'm ahead by 4.
Okay, and we're probably gonna pick the same team tonight, so I'm not too worried. Thursday will be interesting. You'll blow that one, so I get within 3, and then we got 14 weeks to go, 15 weeks to go. Got plenty of time.
We'll see.
Plenty of time.
I will say the upcoming Thursday night games, because I was inputting the rest, like some more of the week.
I'm telling you, you love to blow those Thursday night games.
Well, no, these Thursday night games coming up, they're not going to be easy to choose. It's a lot of 50-50, like, at least right now.
And you know which way those are going, right? Whichever team I pick, bet on that team, because whichever team Steven picks, it's like Chuck's guarantees. It's just what the opposite will happen. The opposite will happen.
That is fake news. I'm eager to see those turn into my way this year, and you to be sorely disappointed. But we'll get to all that. We'll review our picks and make our Monday night pick as well. But let's start with the Denver Broncos, because that was the first game of the day. So let's get to that. I mean, it's the same old jazz, and I love my interactions with people on Twitter that are Broncos fans. Listen, I'm a Broncos fan. Okay, let's not get that twisted. Okay, I'm a Broncos fan, but when you work in the media business and you cover the same team every day, you kind of learn to sort of distance yourself a little bit from the team, or at least kind of decrease your fandom, because otherwise you're just going to be angry every day you come into work, and it's just going to get to you. Now with the Nuggets, I haven't really had to decrease that, because our coverage isn't solely based around the Nuggets. We do cover the Nuggets, but that's why today is going to suck. Literally, when everybody brings up the Nuggets to me today, I'm going to say I don't want to talk about it. So don't talk to me about it. So I hope they really understand that I don't want to talk about it, that I'm not joking. I really don't want to talk about it, because I'm talking about it right now when we talk about it on this podcast, and I wanted to rage. But I'm gonna keep it calm. Anyways, back to the Broncos. Woosah. They lose 26-21 yesterday. I mean, injuries, yes. Obviously, Drew Lock going down, and props to Driscoll. Listen, he played way better than I thought he would. Obviously, he had a chance to win the game down the stretch, and he messed up. He admitted as much yesterday after the game that it was on him on that last play. But I also think his play caller didn't really put him in the best position to win the game yesterday. I mean, you have a 3rd and 2 in the red zone. Okay, you're at like 30 or 20 something yard line, and it's 3rd and 2. You're telling me you don't want to run the ball? You can't at least get a yard? Not only does that keep the clock going, but that gives you a better chance to get at least a yard, and then it's 4th and 1. But instead, we call a pass, and you're asking your 2 tackles who have struggled all day to hold up against that pass rush, which they didn't, because pressure got in his face, and he's forced to throw the ball, which should have probably been intercepted, but thankfully it wasn't. But then at the same time, the clock stops because it was an incompletion. So now you're sitting at 4th and 2, and of course the Broncos call a pass now because they have to, and lo and behold, there's a missed assignment, or Jeff Driscoll says his eyes weren't in the right place. Whatever the case was, it didn't go well for the Broncos. I believe he got sacked on that play. So, I mean, looking at the game yesterday, I mean, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm kind of concerned my team didn't win by like 20 plus yesterday, because given all the injuries to Drew Lock, there's no Von Miller. Bradley Chubb again was non-existent. Cortland Sutton goes down. Jerry Jeudy went down at one point. Draymond Jones gets injured, and we'll get to all the injuries as well and what that means for the Broncos going forward. But if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm like, how did my team not win by at least 15 yesterday? How did the Denver Broncos have a chance to actually win that game? late in the ball game. But I mean, it's the same nonsense, guys. It's been the same nonsense for like 4 or 5 years now. Okay, the defense plays well enough for the Broncos to be in the game the entire game, and then when we poke the Broncos offense with a stick and say, "Hey, do something," they're like, "Ah, let's do it." And they go out, they score a touchdown, and at that point, I believe they're down. What was it like? What was the score after they scored their second touchdown? I'm trying to find the play-by-play. But anyways, they get within, I think, 5. I think it was 26-21. I think that's what it was. They get within 5 off of the Fant touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion, I believe it was. And then at that point, you have a chance to win the game. And then the defense can't make a stop.
Yeah, it
So
was
it,
19-14,
okay. Yeah,
and
because it
then
got close.
and then
But
and then they got a touchdown to make it 26-14, right? And
let
then
me
the
see.
Broncos got the last touchdown of the game.
So
Is that how it went?
so the Broncos scored a touchdown. Oh, it was 17-14 after the Fant touchdown.
Okay, it's 17. Okay.
Um, and then you need the defense to make a stop at that point. And then they don't make a stop. They let the Steelers drive all the way down the field. I believe it was a touchdown pass to Juju. And then you go up
Yeah.
14
Yep.
at that point. And then you get the safety. It's 26-14.
That's right.
And then the Broncos score a touchdown again. They ended up getting a stop. They force a punt. But at that point, I mean, the Broncos go over on down. So I guess you can blame that on the offense too. But it's at the same point, I mean, if the defense doesn't allow them to go down the field to score that touchdown when it's 17-14, it's a different ball game. But at the same point, I can't really blame them too much because they're playing their butts off for 3.5 quarters, and the offense isn't doing anything. So, guys, it's the same stuff over and over. And literally, I'm tweeting this live with the game. I bet this is going to happen. And it happens. It just turns out to happen. And I don't want to be right, but this is just the Broncos. And Shelby Harris comes out today in a quote to Mark Kisla saying it's the same stuff over and over again. So it's not just me saying that; it's the player saying this. And he says we need to change the culture. Well, I thought we changed the culture when we fired Vance Joseph. I thought that was the point of that move. So what is the common denominator here? It's only one guy, everybody. It's one person. It's John Elway. Okay? I hate to say it, but this isn't going to change until he is gone. At least that's what it's looking like to me. It's the same stuff. It's over and over again. It's doing the same thing, expecting a different result every time, and it's just not happening. And I'm starting to point the finger, and I think all of Broncos country should, at the front office and John Elway, because they're hiring, coaches that aren't right for the job, and they're building a team that obviously isn't adapting to what the league is today. You still can't cover tight ends. You're still relying on a defense that isn't great to win games, and you were behind the times in offense, and then you switch it up a little bit. But now injuries have occurred. Then the pandemic happens, and then you switch another offensive coordinator. So it's just you're continuously every time the Broncos take a step forward, they want to take 18 moon steps back. So that's just where it is with the Denver Broncos today.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying John Elway has been the problem for the last 5 years. I don't know what else to say at this point. Like, look, I was a little bit more positive about this season because I thought they got lucky with Drew Lock. Unfortunately, injuries happen. Sutton injured last week, gets hurt again. Jerry Jeudy got hit pretty hard a couple times. It's just Von Miller. So, obviously injuries have hurt the team. But it starts from the beginning. You hired, like, what do you want? Do you want a great defensive team? Is that what you want? Because, okay, then Elway, go out and get a defensive coach like he did in Vic Fangio. Then draft defensive guys. What are you doing? Why are you taking a tight end with with your first pick? Why are you taking 2 wide receivers back to back? Like, what do you want? Do you want do you want to go towards the offense? Then why aren't you going out and signing a top tackle, drafting a top tackle, hiring a better offensive head coach? So what's the path that they what's the path? What's the path you want to take? It's that simple. Like that's it starts from the it starts from the top. It starts from the beginning of all the decision making. What was the purpose of bringing in Vic? By the way, Vic Fangio, man, I'm sorry. He might be one of the worst head coaches. He might be a top 3 worst coach in the NFL right now. I mean, to be honest, I can't think of one that's worse than him. He's terrible. And you bring him in for, defensive purposes. Why this defense doesn't make any plays?
I'll say this about the defense.
They got a pick, and look, Justin Simmons finally did something. That's the first time he did, like, I saw him make a play. I think that's the first time I've ever seen him make a play. Like, he's a solid safety. I get it. He's a good safety, but he's never made plays. He made a play yesterday. Credit to him. But other than that, that's one of the first turnovers that this team has had in 18 games that we've seen Vic Fangio coach this team.
Well, they put up the graphic yesterday. I don't know if you remember it. And this is what I'll say about the defense. And the graphic kind of tells a story. The defense has been good under Vic Fangio. Now, how much of that is actually him bringing his scheme and implementing, or the Broncos having good players? I think it's a mixture of both. The defense has been good. Last year I believe they were top 3 in red zone defense. They were top 10 defense last year.
Right, but what's the difference between
turning
exactly?
the ball over?
What's the difference between this defense and 2015's defense? That 2015 defense made big plays, and they got points for the offense. They put the offense in position. Exactly. So look, I understand if you want to keep the defense going and you hire a defensive head coach. I didn't like it, but I understood it. But then you went ahead and you drafted a tight end, a guard, and a quarterback. Back to back to back. The next draft, wide receiver. What are you doing? Why aren't you helping your defensive head coach by drafting defensive guys after you lose TJ Ward, Chris Harris, Darian Stewart, Brandon Marshall? You get rid of Todd Davis. So you're just getting rid of guys, and you're just drafting offensive guys, and then you're signing defensive guys that are known to be injured. And what do you know? They're all injured. So it's just, I don't get the path that they are taking. And not to mention Vic Fangio is a terrible head coach. It's the same crap. And now it's the question of, what do you do? Because if you fire Vic Fangio because he's a bad head coach, and that's a fact, and that's something that you do need to do. But if you fire him, you're just continuing to hurt your young guys, specifically Drew Lock.
Yeah, I think Elway's in a position where if he fires Vic, it's another even bigger black eye on him and his legacy as a GM.
But you can't keep this guy either.
Well, I mean, listen, Elway has, I think, 2 years underneath his contract, I think, left on his deal after this season. So at this point, I think he's just gonna ride this out, unless it's like completely like 1-15, 0-16.
That's what we gotta hope for. Because here's the thing. I don't care, to be honest. I really don't care if they go 1-15, 2-16. I really don't. Honestly, I think
at this point they might, and I'm just seeing this on Twitter. Because I saw Kliss tweeting about this, but not only does Locke have an injury, but according to Ian Rappaport, the Broncos fear that Courtland Sutton has sustained a significant knee injury. So we might be, my 3-13 prediction might be too high at this point. So with all the injuries they have.
The thing is, though, if they go 1-15, 2-14, blah, 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 and there's injuries like this. That's going to be the excuse.
Yep.
So that's not going to do anything. This team is probably top 3 in the worst franchises being run right now in the league. And unfortunately, they're gonna ruin Drew Lock. It's really gonna come down to that. They are going to ruin Drew Lock. He has so much talent, but they're not putting the resources into his coaching, because he makes a lot of bad throws where he has the talent. He has all the talent in the world, but he's throwing off his back foot almost every time.
Every time.
His footwork is not good. His ability to move in the pocket is actually really good. And that's something where Driscoll got sacked like 6 times. Drew Lock would not have been sacked 6 times. Drew Lock knows how to move around in that pocket. And he saved, even against in week 1 against the Titans, he saved probably at least 5 sacks for that offensive line. So that's something that he's great at. But when you have a head coach that says he doesn't pay attention to offense in training camp, he obviously doesn't care what the offense is doing in the games. He's only focused on the defense. You're putting all of that pressure on your other coaches. And sometimes your other coaches take that kind of mentality from your head coach. And so it's like, well, the defense will win it, so just do enough offensively. Right? That seems to be the message. That's just, they're ruining Drew Lock. They're ruining Drew Lock. The sooner John Elway gets out of the front office, the better, because that only helps Drew Lock at this point. And they need to bring in someone who can put the focus on the offense, bring in a good defensive coordinator that can focus on the defense, and go from there. But they need to help Drew, and not just giving him rookie weapons, which is great. And look, I'm one of those. I liked drafting all the offensive weapons. I did. But you have to, when you have first, second, third year offensive weapons, you need the coaching staff to help them. You need your head coach to one, pay attention to them, but two, to be able to help them, be able to help develop them. And that's the number one problem. That is the number one problem. Because you have a very young offense. You can't just say, oh yeah, our offense coordinator would take care of it. What? It needs to be the focus. If you're going to put all this draft stock into your young offense, you need to put all your focus into that. And look, your defense might suffer, but hey, your defense is suffering right now. They gave up 26 points to the Steelers, and they can't stop them when it matters. So what? Well, I guess they gave up 24. They gave up 24. What did I say before? It takes about 23 points with a good defense. You need 23. Well, this defense is no longer great. It's a solid defense that doesn't make plays. Yeah. So you need to put all your focus in the offense then.
Yeah, and I think too, if we're gonna look at this fairly, because I think we both before, and I think we've talked about this on one of the podcasts before this, is that if this was a normal season, right? You know, I was optimistic. I was at 7-9, 8-8, maybe competing for a wild card. I really do think they could have done that. Obviously, health standing, that didn't include Von Miller getting hurt. That for sure didn't include a pandemic. So if this team was relatively healthy and they had their key players in, now obviously injuries happen every year, but if they had the Von Millers, Suttons, Drew Lock, Philip, if all those guys were there, I think they have the potential to 7-9, 8-8, maybe best case 9-7. They're competing for a wild card. Then the pandemic happened. Then that knocked me down to, okay, maybe this is best case 7 wins, but maybe between 5-7. Then the injury to Vaughn happened, and then I'm considering, well, that's a huge loss. That's like worth 1 or 2 games right there. And then you lose, Boye gets hurt, and then Philip Lindsay gets hurt, and then we have Locke and Sutton, and then I started putting, oh wait, and this was before all that, but then I started putting, okay, wait, we have a rookie, essentially a rookie quarterback coming off of his redshirt year. You have a rookie center. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have no real improvements to the offensive line. Your best right tackle sat out the season. So how can I even give this team 5 wins? So I think, to be fair, now has Vic showed that he's not the best head coach right now through the sample size we have? For sure, there is a huge sample size of him completely just dropping the ball in his game, and like it's like getting like Vance Joseph resume right now of like just dropping the ball. With Vance, it seemed like his teams just were never prepared and they just got blown out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
With Vic, they're at least in games, but it's still the same mistakes of Alexander, don't call me AJ Johnson. What are you doing? Like, that's 2 weeks in a row, my guy, that you're just completely killing your team. Okay, the first week, Ojemudia gets an interception, but you decide to hit Derrick Henry, who's not involved in the play at all. And all these football guys are like, oh, that's just him being tough. That's just football. That's just dumb football. Why do you need to hit him? What is that going to do for you? You're not intimidating him. He's 6'3", 240. Okay, you're not intimidating Derrick Henry. I'm sorry. You want to establish, and this is the guy that gets up and does a dinosaur celebration. Okay, like he's supposed to be intimidated by you, the guy that does a little pterodactyl thing. No, okay. First off, that's not going to work. So you do that, you get an unsportsmanlike penalty, and that takes away Ojemudia's interception. Okay, because that couldn't have changed the game, right? But whatever. Well, I digress. And then we get to the next week. Justin Simmons gets an interception. He's actually has a nice return on it, and then you have to go block Ben Roethlisberger in the back because Ben Roethlisberger is going to go track down Justin Simmons, right? That's going to happen. I mean, what are we doing? It's just stupid, tiny mistakes, and this is why Shelby Harris's comments have credence, because it's like we're doing the same stuff, idiotic stuff, not prepared in terms of our head coach in clutch situations and how to clock manage. So as much as I don't want to give Vic and John Elway a pass in one aspect, I do give them a pass in terms of the pandemic and all these injuries, because that's not fair. I think if we would have seen this team with a full healthy team in a normal season, it would be a different story. However, there's still real issues at hand, and they're only being magnified by the injuries now. And I agree with you. I think this is going to be an excuse, which 50% rightfully so, but I think it's going to be excuse that, you know what, we were banged up last year. We didn't have all our guys. We want to see what we can do next year. And you know what? Maybe this ends up working out for them. Maybe they suck so bad that they get Trevor Lawrence. And I listen, I get Drew Lock had a great 5 games last year, 4 games. The fifth, one of those games against the Kansas City Chiefs, they got completely obliterated in. And I don't really put that on Drew because it was a snowstorm. You're on the road, whatever. It's Kansas City, whatever. But I was never like quick to like say Drew's the guy. Like that's the star. They found the guy. Because one, it's only 5 games, and 2, there's still real flaws there. And you were starting to see that in the first 2 games. I mean, I tweeted yesterday, like, something to the effect of, Drew Lock throws off of his back foot like literally every time. Let's count this next drive, how many times he throws off of his back foot. And it's shown, because he's had at least like 6 deep passes throughout these 2 games where he's just missed guys because he's throwing off of his back foot. Last year, it seemed like he hit those guys. This year, he's throwing off of his back foot. I don't know if that's because he doesn't trust his offensive line, or if he's trying to be too cute, or, he's just, who cares about technique? My arm is great and I can get it there. I don't know. But I'm not there with Drew Lock yet to just crown him the guy yet. And I'm telling you, the Broncos might have a real good chance at Trevor Lawrence. And if I'm John Elway and if I'm Vic Fangio, I'm like, you know what? We have all these injuries. why do we not just roll the dice? Because if the Broncos really love Drew Lock, think about this. If the Broncos really loved Drew Lock in the last draft when they took him,
They
right?
would have taken him at 50.
They would have taken
Whatever.
him. Yeah, they wouldn't have traded back,
Yeah.
first off. Okay, they would have taken him there. They didn't. They would have taken him at 20 or whatever the pick was when they took Noah Fant. They didn't take him there. They would have taken him with their first second round pick. They didn't take him there. They took Dalton Reisner. Then they took Drew Lock. Okay, so that tells me they really like the guy, but they're not in love with the guy.
And they didn't give him a chance last year at all.
Exactly. I mean, it was like pulling teeth to get him on the field. It literally took Brandon Allen, completely stinking up the game to be like, okay, we'll get to Drew Lock now because we really don't have a choice. The Broncos had a chance at a generational quarterback a few years ago. His name was Andrew Luck, but someone named Tim Tebow threw a wrench in the plans. There's no Tim Tebow this year. Okay, well, it could be Jeff Driscoll. It's kind of odd, the comparisons. Both of them, their best act.
They also could have got Josh Allen though.
Well, I'm not sold on Josh Allen. I get it. He plays for a really good team. I'm not sold on Josh Allen.
He's playing great. He's playing great.
But he has a really good football team as well. So I'd like to see him without a great defense, and we'll see. Because I think, listen, accuracy issues just don't fix themselves. Okay, when you have accuracy issues coming into the NFL, you don't necessarily get better at accuracy.
I mean,
it just kind of tends to
would you have rather taken that shot or keep Bradley Chubb?
Well, I mean, I guess that's I would have taken Bradley Chubb. You want to know why? Because I'm not sold on Josh Allen. Would Josh Allen make this team a playoff team right now? Can you for certain say that?
Well, I think he's even better than Drew Lock.
I'll give you that. I think he's better because he presents a dynamic of being more athletic.
And
they use him as a runner as well.
He was 24 of 35, 417 and 4 touchdowns.
No, I get it. He looked good. I'm just not sold on his accuracy, and I think eventually people are going to see that.
24 of 35 wasn't accurate?
I mean, that's accurate, but I think the knock on him is that he's not an accurate passer. It's the same thing with Mitch Trubisky.
That was a knock on him in college.
Right. I don't think
but
he's all of a
he's
sudden gets better.
But in 2 seasons plus 2 games, he's proven otherwise.
Well, we'll see. We'll see the totality of his career. I'm just not sold on the guy. I'm just not sold. I just think that guys that are super athletic and have a great arm that aren't great with their accuracy, I think you can improve on it a little bit. But I think when push comes to shove and it's key moments, I think they tend to rely on their skill set, what it is. And for Josh Allen, one of his knocks was accuracy. So I mean, I could be wrong. Listen, I'm not a quarterback expert. I could be wrong. That's just me. I'm just not sold on the guy. But I will say this. The Broncos have a chance at what is being deemed another generational talent at the quarterback position. And if I'm John Elway, and if I'm Vic Fangio, and I see Von Miller's out, I see Cortland Sutton could possibly have a season-ending injury, Phillip Lindsay, I'm putting my biggest guys and telling them, wait till next year. What's the point? We're not going to make the playoffs. The Chargers looked good yesterday with Justin Herbert. And by the way, Anthony Lynn coming out and saying if Tyrod Taylor is healthy, that's going to be our guy. Okay, sure. Even though Herbert looked good and you had a chance to win that game, sure. They're not getting over the Chiefs, okay? Baltimore, all those teams. So if I'm the Broncos, I wave the white flag on this year. We're 0-2 already. We got Tampa next week. We're going to lose that one. So we're going to be 0-3. And then after that, you're on a short week to the Jets. You could possibly win that one, but given how injured you are, you might lose that one. So you might give the Jets their first win of the season. So then you might be 0-4 at that point. And I can't remember who they play in week 5. I think it's Miami or something like that.
Which Miami, by the way, is like pretty good. They've had 2 close losses. Yeah.
And listen, too, at the same time, I mean, with all these injuries now stacking up for the Denver Broncos, like, they're going to be a really bad football team now. So, I mean,
but again,
the Jets. No, they got the Patriots week 5. Are they going to Foxborough and beating the Patriots?
No. But here's my concern though. Say you draft Trevor Lawrence. Well, it's hard to ruin number 1 quarterbacks and generational talents, but I'm very nervous that they ruin him. I don't trust the front office. I don't trust the coaching staff. I don't trust I don't trust John Elway to make the good decision to bring in a good coaching staff. So part of me doesn't even want Trevor Lawrence because I would feel bad for him.
That's a valid concern. But again, I'd rather have that guy because I mean he looks the part.
Well,
Drew
yeah.
Lock has the arm strength, but there's a reason he fell to the second round. Okay, so it's listen. The Broncos are I'm calling it right now. They're gonna start 0-5. Okay, you're not beating Tampa Bay. I don't think they beat the Jets. I don't think they beat the Patriots. They might even start 0-6. I don't know if they beat the Dolphins. And this is
Is that
also
is that
depending
Miami
on
game in Miami or is it
it's
here?
here. It's here.
Yeah, they might win that
And then
one.
you have the Chiefs. Then you have the Falcons. I get the Falcons just blew another big
No, but the
lead.
Falcons beat them.
Yeah. Then it's at Raiders. Listen, the Broncos may be lucky to win one game.
And with the Chargers, with their pass rush and Herbert playing, Herbert's good.
Yeah, Chargers, Saints, at Chiefs, at Panthers, versus Bills, at Chargers. You finish with the Raiders. Where's the win coming from?
The Raiders. That's about it.
Is it? Is it though? I don't think so.
I mean, your best chances are Miami,
And
the
Jets.
Raiders. I wouldn't even say the Jets.
I would. The Jets are really bad. The Jets had a 3rd and 31 yesterday and gave up a 55-yard run.
Okay, so that's your. I think
That's
I think
that's where
okay.
the Jets are at right now.
Okay. Okay. I didn't realize the Jets were. Yeah, they're minus 20 in point differential too. So yeah, the Jets, the Raiders. I don't even know about the Miami game though, because Miami's been playing really well.
Well, that's the thing. You can't point at any of these games and say, you know what, that's the win right there. W. You can't mark that. You can't mark that at all. I mean, maybe now again, this is all dependent on Drew Lock's injury, Cortland Sutton. I think if those guys come away with manageable injuries that can bring them back in a relatively decent time frame,
They might be able to get
AJ
3.
Boyd, Philip Lindsay, like you'll get those guys back, I guess. But listen, if Drew Lock's gonna miss 6 weeks, which is probably what it's, yesterday Schefter reported it's an AC sprain, which is what Sutton had to begin with his shoulder. And then Mike Kliss comes out and says he hasn't been hearing it's a AC sprain. And then he retweeted a doctor who said it could be a post-labral tear in Drew Lock's shoulder. And I'm like, oh my God, like, okay. So at this point, Drew Lock's at least missing 2 weeks at this point. I mean, that's just bound to happen. Okay. And then if Sutton is missing at least 2 weeks, if not more, oh, what's the point of bringing these guys back? Well, what's the point? So, I mean, they may get 1 or 2 wins this year, but I really have a hard time seeing where it's going to come from on the schedule. So all that to say, again, I think at this point, if I'm John Elway, once I get these MRIs back for Locke and Sutton today, I think I'm making a choice on my season today. Do I want to bring these guys back? I mean, but even if you bring them back, what's the point? You're not competing for a playoff spot. So then at that point, you're only hurting draft stock. And then all the people are going to yell at me that yelled at me last year on Twitter about, oh, you just want to tank and lose on purpose. You're going to create a losing culture. I'm sorry. Have you seen the last 4 years?
It's already a
We're
losing
changing
culture.
everything this year,
Yeah.
okay?
It's already a
So why don't we get a good player, a generational player that could help change that culture? Because my God, I mean, you have to start somewhere. And I get it. They drafted Drew Lock. Everybody's on the Drew Lock train. Choo choo chugga chugga Drew. But I'm not there yet. Now I'll get on the tank for Trevor train, and I'll line up behind that guy because I've seen what he's done at Clemson. So, listen, I think this season is a wash. With all the injuries the Broncos have, given the circumstances, they were never going to be successful under these circumstances. They just weren't. And the injuries have only compounded that.
Yeah. Best case scenario, they go 0-16.
Yeah. I mean, best case scenario, we have to get the number 1 pick. We just have to. Okay? Jets, we got to give the win to the Jets. All right? Jets got to have that win. Give it to them, please. Pro Football Focus put out a Photoshop picture yesterday of Trevor Lawrence in green. I was like, you know what? This is a waste of time because he's going to be in blue and orange next year. So how about you Photoshop that one instead? He's already in orange and purple. Let's just, do whatever to that purple hue and make it blue. And then boom, there you go. That's his jersey. He's just going to switch it over. It's rough. I get it. Everybody was optimistic about this.
Hey, and you know what? You could probably get a 2nd round pick for Drew Lock.
Yeah, there you go.
Send him to
Do
the
what
Jets.
the Arizona Cardinals did. I mean, you think the Cardinals, they didn't have any
Yeah.
trouble going
By
without
the
Kyler
way,
Murray.
Kyler Murray, dear Lord, did you watch
He's
that
great.
game? My
Yeah, I
God,
watched parts of it.
he is so good. He is
Yeah,
so good.
looks the part. You think they're regretting
And
trading Josh or
and
Josh Rosen?
Houston, what are you doing? Getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins. My God, DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Oh my God, that is
And just
so
like
fun
that,
to watch.
the Texans are 0-2. Now I get it. They probably had to face the two best teams in football.
Yeah,
the
that
Chiefs and
I
the
realized that I
Texans.
was watching them play the Ravens. I'm like, didn't they just play the Chiefs?
Yeah,
What
it's a
kind
brutal
of
start to
scheduling
the
is
season.
that?
Yeah, it's a brutal start, but I mean, if you're a good football team, like you can at least split those. I'm not saying that they're not a good football
Or
team,
at least be in the game.
right.
I mean,
I think they got, what did they lose by yesterday? I'm trying to see if I can
they
see
got
the
beat
top.
pretty good.
33-16,
Yeah,
and
and it wasn't even that
know,
close.
and they got kicked in the face by the Chiefs as well. So I mean, that's what happens when you trade away, your weapons. Apparently you don't need an all NFL wide receiver. Well, I guess who is it? Kenny what is that guy's name? Or Fuller? What Kendall Fuller? No, that's the cornerback. Who's their Fuller, right?
Well,
Is that
yeah,
what it's
Fuller, but he didn't get a catch. You got
called?
Brandon Cooks over there, 5
Yeah,
catches,
Cooks.
95 yards. Randall Cobb, 5 catches, 59 yards.
Is it Will Fuller?
Yeah, Will Fuller. He
Okay.
either didn't get a catch or didn't play. And he's always hurt, so I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play. But yeah, no, I mean, there's other problems on that team, but it doesn't help when you trade your best player.
Right.
So.
And I mean, speaking of injuries, like the NFL has just been ravaged.
And
by
by the way,
injuries.
the player you traded him for, David Johnson, had 11 carries for 34 yards. So way to use him.
Love that. Hey, that 3 yards pop, baby. That's gonna get it done. So it's not just the Broncos though that have been hurt by injuries. I mean, did you see the list? It's like Saquon.
Yeah,
tore his
yeah. There's
ACL,
a lot of.
Nick Bosa, ACL,
Yeah.
Solomon Thomas. The 49ers. I mean, I know the Broncos have been hit, but the 49ers just got like obliterated all in one
Yeah,
day.
that's what happens when you lose the Super Bowl.
Literally. Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Mostert got hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo has a high ankle sprain. I mean, they lost. Richard Sherman got hurt. I was like, oh my God. The Jets were like, we're going to lose, but we're going to make sure we're going to take some people out in this game. So I don't know what Adam Gase is teaching his players over there. Somebody might want to see if he's like got a bounty gate going over there, because like the 49ers just got obliterated with injuries yesterday. But as for the Broncos, I mean, it's just going to be another tough year, Broncos country. So I'm sorry, you're just going to have to deal with my tweets this year.
Hey,
It's just gonna...
hey, if you come to my side where you're rooting for them to lose, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm already there.
No,
I'm there now.
I remember last year when they lost to I think it was Chicago. Dude, I was throwing a party. That was one of the most incredible losses I've ever seen in my life. Like, that was hilarious. I was laughing so hard I was crying.
See,
That was
Brandon's
one
a
of the
terrible
greatest.
fan.
That was one of the greatest
He
games I've ever
rejoices
seen.
when we lose. It still hurts me when we lose, but I'm seeing a silver lining. I'm like the Alonzo Mourning gif where it's like I'm angry face, but then I have an epiphany and I'm like, okay, like I can get behind this. Brandon's like, he just admitted to you, he's actually cheering. He actually wants them to lose so he can get joy out of it. So
Hey,
that's the type of
hey,
thing
you know
Brandon-
what? I'd rather enjoy them losing for a bigger purpose than, sitting there crying my eyes out because I actually thought the team was going to be really good.
I mean, it only took me 2 weeks, but I'm already on the let's tank this baby. Let's go down.
Yeah.
All right.
And look, I was the positive one out of us too. I thought they could go 9-7, best 10-6.
Well, I did too, until a pandemic happened, and then everybody got
Hey,
injured.
look, I did too until I really realized how bad their coach was. My God. But obviously injuries don't help. So, but yeah,
It's gonna be
best
rough.
case scenario, you get Trevor Lawrence,
Yep.
and then you just gotta hope and pray that in 2 years John Elway is gone, so Trevor Lawrence can actually have a chance. I
Right.
mean, that's
Right.
that's gotta be your hope. That's gotta be your hope.
Maybe bring Trevor Lawrence's offensive coordinator here with you. Maybe that's the move.
His offense coordinator might actually be a better head coach than what you got, so let's throw him a
At
head
this point,
coach.
it can't hurt. I mean, we've already got 2 bad ones, in a row, and why not go for a third?
Yeah.
What's the point of why not risk
I
it?
mean, hey, I wouldn't mind if they just hired Coach Malone and just brought him here and had Malone do both.
Double duty. Malone
Yeah.
loves defense. There you
He
go.
does. He does love defense. He does.
He
But
uses his timeouts a little bit better.
but at least he knows. At least he puts some focus on the offense. And puts his players in good positions. But
Well, speaking of, that's a good segue.
Are you really upset? Look. I'll go first. Look. The Nuggets.
You should, because I was about to say some very bad words about LeBron James. So go ahead.
Look, you're playing a great team. LeBron is LeBron. AD is AD. Look, Plumlee, my God, dude. I get Grant was telling you to. He was telling, if LeBron screens you, we're gonna switch. What did LeBron do? He looked the other way. He didn't even try to screen. He literally took 2 steps away from you. LeBron barely moved. What are you doing? Why? And that's just. And all those people saying, why was Plumlee in the game? Plumlee's been in the game in that situation all season long.
Exactly.
That's not. I am okay with crapping on Malone when Malone makes stupid decisions. I've done it plenty of times. That was not on Malone. That's 100% on Plumlee. And all the people saying, well, Grant told him to do it. No, Grant said, if he screens you, we are switching. Keyword, if he screens you. He did not. LeBron went the other way. He didn't move. He barely moved. He took 2 steps the other way. That's it. And those were 2 very tiny steps. And I actually saw a tweet that maybe that wasn't the Lakers play, that the because AD said it was written for LeBron. And I think when both AD and LeBron heard Jeremy Grant and Plumlee what they were saying, I think it was more of a broken play at that point, and AD just made a good read. Sure, but that doesn't mean that Plumlee could have gotten there and got a good contest. And by the way, good contest by Jokic too. But other than that, look, they should have won last night. They should have. But it's against a really good team. I think where the game was lost was in the beginning of the game, where Paul Millsap had a it was like 2 minutes, a 2-minute stint. It was had a chance for the rebound, bounced off his hands, went into the hands of someone else. I don't remember who, and they got a bucket. Okay, that was one. The second time, on the offensive end, I believe, it was a offensive foul. I believe on Paul Millsap, or maybe it was no. It was he got the offensive rebound. He panicked, didn't know what to do with the board. Could have turned around, just put it up. Didn't turn around, tried to throw it, and it was a turnover. And then the other end, it was I believe it was a blocking foul, something. And then on the other end again, it was another turnover. Like, my God, I think he had 3 turnovers, 2 missed offensive rebounds, and a foul in about the 2-minute stint. And I'm just sitting there like, that was the game. That right there, Paul Millsap, that was the game. That was where they lost. So I don't get it. I don't get why Paul Millsap continues to play and start. I really don't get it. He played 28 minutes. He did have a couple of big offensive rebounds. I believe, or maybe he had like 3. He had 3 offensive rebounds. 2 of them turned into turnovers though. But one at the end of the game was a big offensive rebound, and I believe he scored off of that. But other than that, Paul Millsap has been atrocious. So that's they lost the game because Paul Millsap played, and you just I don't get why Paul Millsap is getting 28 minutes when Michael Porter Jr. is getting 20, and he got 15 points, 4 rebounds in 20 minutes. He did have 5 fouls. Let the kid foul out. Who cares? Just keep him out there. But hey, look. They're playing against a great team. your two stars are playing pretty well. Jamal didn't shoot great from three, but I thought Jamal, the way they're defending him again, it's just I don't know how much he can really do. But he had the highest plus minus. He was a plus 16. So in my mind, he played good enough for them to win. Jokic played good enough for them to win. I would like his assist numbers to be up higher, or not his assist numbers, his rebounding numbers. He had just 6 rebounds. They're getting killed on the glass. So that's got to be higher. You didn't get anything from Jeremy Grant. Gary Harris didn't give you anything. Monte played pretty well. PJ Dozier played great. I think PJ Dozier should actually be getting probably part of Millsap's minutes at this point. So they played well enough to win. I thought their defense was pretty solid. The Lakers got a lot of calls. You got to hit free throws. I mean, it came down to little things last night, and they lost to a better team. At the end of the day, they lost to a better team. I mean, AD 31 again, 26 from LeBron, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. LeBron had 6 turnovers. They're actually playing LeBron really well. Danny Green was 4 of 14. Kuzma was only 3 of 7. They played well enough to win. It's just the little things that this team doesn't do, and the Lakers take advantage, whereas the Clippers didn't. It really comes down to that. And look, I'm okay. Like, I wasn't mad. I was watching it with my fiance, and I told her right before that AD shot, I was like, man, LeBron's gonna break my heart, isn't he? And it was AD instead. But that's just how it goes. They're playing against a better team. The Lakers should beat them. It's that simple.
Real quickly before I get to how I felt about it, Adam Schefter just tweeted out that Christian McCaffrey is expected to be sidelined for multiple weeks as well. So
Jeez.
With an ankle injury. So NFL is really losing a lot of guys. For me, I listen, when AD hit that shot, a lot of people were getting on Plumlee. I don't even care, to be honest with you. I don't even care. I mean, if he messed up the assignment, yeah, that sucks. Honestly, I don't even care. I wasn't even mad that they blew that assignment. I was just like, it is what it is. To me, where it was frustrating, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, the whistle has been unfair. Because I will say in the first game, the whistle was pretty lopsided, and it showed in the free throws, the discrepancy there. Second game, it evened out. But I will say to you, I have never in my life seen so many, not just offensive fouls called, but offensive fouls called on the Nuggets. And I'm telling you, 2 out of the 3 charges or blocks that have been called when LeBron is driving to the basket, I believe 2 were on Jeremy Grant and 1 was on Murray. 2 happened last game. These guys are in great position, and LeBron is lowering his shoulder into their chest. And I'm just like, maybe one of those is a block, but I mean, Jeremy Grant was there last night. He beat LeBron to the spot. LeBron lowers his shoulder, and they're getting Jeremy Grant into foul trouble early. And I get it. Kudos to LeBron, because that's what he has to do. He has to be aggressive, and he has to play like this. But you know what? For me, where they really lost this game was the free throw line. You have PJ Dozier missed 3, and I get he gave him good minutes, but come on, guy. You missed 3 free throws.
Yeah.
Jamal missed 1 last night. I believe Jokic missed 1 or 2. He missed 1 last night. Paul Millsap, he's always good for a miss. MPJ, he missed his first time he has a chance to get points. He misses his free throw.
MPJ's been missing a lot of free throws here in the playoffs. Yeah.
It's
been
PJ
weird.
Dozier actually missed 4 free throws last night. You lose by 2 and you missed 8 free throws. 8 free throws, guys. I mean, your best players canceled out LeBron and AD, and they've been doing that. Jamal had 25, LeBron had 26, Jokic had 30, and AD had 31. I mean, essentially, you're canceling those guys out. And then your third best player, who's giving you points, 15 points in MPJ, you play him 20 minutes. And Paul Millsap, like you mentioned, gets 28, and he's giving you 8 rebounds and 6 points. I get it. He had a clutch rebound late in the, offensive rebound, whatever the case is. But man, Paul is brutal to watch. I mean, he's getting blocked by Danny Green. He's
Well,
getting
no.
to the line.
Everyone's saying, everyone's giving Danny Green credit. Paul Millsap would have been blocked by the rim anyways. He couldn't. He was not even up high enough. He would have gotten blocked by the rim. That's how little lift he got. Not only did he get so little lift that he got blocked by Danny Green, he would have gotten blocked by the rim. The bottom of the rim, by the way.
Right.
He didn't get high enough.
It's like it's not so much about the block of Danny Green. It just shows that he's just not there athletically. And I get it. Paul Millsap means something to this team. He does bring something. He does. He's valuable to this team. Now, is it more in terms of intangible things and actual physical on the court production? Most definitely. Now, would they be here without his game against the Clippers where he had like 14 points? No, they wouldn't be here without Paul Millsap. I'm not trying to discredit him that much, but I think at a certain point we have to realize the momentum of the game, what players are playing well. He took Monte and Gary hardly played the second half and put PJ Dozier in. Why are we not seeing that with MPJ? And I get it. It goes back to defense and who Mike Malone trusts, but man, you got to match these guys at a certain point too, as well. So I'm going to free throws. I'm going to stuff like that. Jokic, I get you're saying you want him to have more rebounds, but I mean,
well, look, they're getting killed on the glass. Well, then they need to help him out. They're getting killed on the glass.
That's what I'm going to say. No, it needs to be a gang rebound experience. If the Nuggets are going to have a chance on the boards, it has to be more than one guy.
Jeremy Grant had 0 rebounds.
Exactly. No, and that's a determination thing. That's an effort thing. That's a want to thing. Getting rebounds is more so about effort than anything. I mean, guys can be great at knowing where the ball is going to bounce off the rim and getting in great position and boxing out. They can be good at that. But so much of that is just effort and being willing to do that. And Jokic needs help down there. Like, if it's not JaVale McGee, he's seeing Dwight Howard. If it's not Dwight Howard, he's seeing AD. So, and at that point, if it's not those guys, maybe it's LeBron on a switch. So you have to help these guys, or you have to help him down there. Like, he can't rebound by himself. And he struggled, I thought, in the first half, and his numbers will show that. He was 9 of 20 from the field, 1 of 4. He hasn't shot the 3-ball great this series, but he finishes with 30 points, 9 assists. And I read the stat to you before we came on. This is Jokic's 6 35-5 game, and that's already more in the postseason, and that's already more than Dirk, who's a Hall of Famer. So, listen, and Shannon Sharp posted the meme of, I get it's just Shannon Sharp, he's trying to be funny, but it's AD holding Jokic in a little baby carrier. Listen, Jokic scored the last 12 points for the Nuggets down the stretch, had not only the one to put them up, but he had the tip in, which I don't know how that even happens, of Jamal Murray's air ball to also give them a lead. So, as far as I'm concerned, AD's not bullying Jokic at all in this series. No. If I remember correctly, Jokic backed down AD to give the Nuggets the lead. So, I mean,
well, and it's back to my point that I was saying it with the Clippers. I'm saying it again with the Lakers. Nikola Jokic had 30 points. Jamal Murray had 25. That's a combined 55 points. Anthony Davis had 31. LeBron had 26. That's a combined 57 points. Those guys are essentially a push. Now, you could say, well, that's where they lost. That's the point differential, I guess. But essentially, that's a push. What kills you? Porter had 15. Great. What kills you is Danny Green with 11, Caldwell Pope with 11, Kuzma has 8, Cruz has 9. Their other guys stepped up just a little bit more. And it comes down to free throws, too. You got to hit free throws. If PJ Dozier hits, if he goes 3 of 5 instead of 1 of 5 from the free throw line, that's a tie game. And, who knows what happens there? Maybe they have to play the foul game instead because those free throws came in earlier and they don't even get a shot, to tie or to win it. So the other guys got to play better. Gary Harris, he was 1 of 6. He has to play better. I get it. Jeremy Grant got in foul trouble, only played 25 minutes. But he's got to play overall better. He was 3 of 4 from the field. He's a guy, by the way, Jeremy Grant has a really good matchup against the Lakers. He played really well against them before. It's just he's getting into foul trouble. LeBron's doing a great job of getting him into foul trouble early on, and it's hurting them. But he needs to stay out of foul trouble, and if he can, that's a mismatch for the Nuggets. That's one of very few mismatches that you have. They're playing Jamal really well. He could still shoot the ball a little bit better, but Jamal's
I'll say
also,
this about how they're
but
playing Jamal. They're not blitzing Jamal.
no,
They're switching on Jamal, and
right.
he has the big on him every time. And I think he's been too. I don't think he knows what he wants to do. He's too hesitant in this series. Every time he gets the big on him, I mean, he dribbles for about 3 or 4 seconds, and he thinks about going in, and then he step backs, and he's stepping back, and he's taking a contested shot. I think he's being too predictable. When he comes off that screen, he has to be aggressive.
Yeah.
You have to either attack them and go into their body. And this is one thing I saw PJ Dozier do it. He had, I believe it was AD I think it was AD. He goes into the body of these guys, and that's how you get fouls. Jamal sometimes like to.
He doesn't
and
do
so
it.
does MPJ. They contort and they try and make
Right.
a fancy. No, the way you get the foul, that's how. And maybe that's the next step of the evolution for Jamal is being savvy. Because I mentioned this. I think was it in the Utah series. Or
Yeah,
the
I
Clippers
believe it was
series?
the Utah series.
Jamal doesn't, and he did it I think once already this series. When he pumps, he doesn't get the foul. He doesn't jump into guys.
Right.
He passes it.
Yep.
And that's the next evolution is learning how to draw fouls. But I think for Jamal, if he goes in and he's aggressive and attacks the body of these guys, he'll get a foul call.
I mean, he had 8 free throws.
Right.
So
No, he got to the line,
but-
but I
but-
think there's times where he's not decisive enough coming off of that pick and roll because
Right.
they're not blitzing him. They're letting him do what he wants. They're saying we're going to take Jokic away with our guys down low, and we're going to let everybody else on the perimeter try and beat
I
him.
also think though the Lakers are athletic enough to stick with Jamal, even their bigs, and that's where it gets tough. He shot 2 of 9 from 3. He took a lot of really tough threes, and it was a couple of them were just late in the shot clock where the offense was stale. The Lakers played really good defense, and the ball got kicked out to Jamal with 2 seconds left, and he had to take a really tough three. One of them was a tip in by Jokic. So, this offense, and I've talked about it too with Malone. You've got to help Jamal. Maybe let's put Jamal off ball a little bit more. Let's get him off of screens and catch and shoot situations instead of him.
Screens,
Right, instead of him having to create so much. If PJ Dozier gets maybe 24 minutes instead of 14 a game from now on, I think PJ Dozier can change this series. If you put Dozier with Jamal, kind of like what they did when they had started Monte against what was that, Utah? Or no, yeah, it was Utah, right? Putting Jamal off ball and put him at the 2 instead. You don't have to start that because you do want Gary's defense. Well, maybe you don't need Gary's defense as much in this series because he really hasn't been. He only played 25 minutes. I don't think Gary has that good of a matchup in this series. I don't think he has enough to impact the game because his defense. He can't guard LeBron because he's too small.
Right. Well,
I think
that he is guarding, they're not necessarily making a huge impact. They're not offensive threats.
Right.
The two
So
offensive threats are bigger guys.
Right. And look, we talk about obviously playoff series. It comes down to what do you change with what's the adjustments that you make, and I think Malone has been good about adjustments, but he makes them too late. And I think yesterday was a good sign where he put in Dozier. I think Dozier has a very good matchup against the Lakers. He showed it in the bubble game, by the way, too. Dozier was part of that run in the fourth quarter where Dozier played amazing. So he's a mismatch. I think what I would do, I would make the adjustment now instead of waiting until you're down 0-3 or 3-1. Start Dozier. Put Dozier in there instead of Gary. Or at least maybe you don't start. If you don't start him, Dozier should be one of the first off the bench, and he should be getting 25 minutes and having Gary only play 25. Because having Dozier out there, he's great with the pick and roll, which the Lakers aren't the greatest at defending the pick and roll, and they showed that against Dozier. At least Dozier knows how to beat their pick and roll. Jamal's struggling. And you put Jamal off ball. That loosens up Jamal to be able to just be your scorer. Dozier is another playmaker that you have out there. And also, Dozier was playing good defense. So you don't lose a ton of defense off of Gary Harris. And he's bigger. He's 6'6". So he can switch on more guys as well. So I think Dozier is a better matchup for the Nuggets. And I think that gives you another mismatch. And then, look, Porter got in the foul trouble. He had 5 fouls. I get maybe that's why he didn't play more than 20 minutes, but he needs to take some of Paul Millsap's minutes. Jeremy Grant, if Jeremy Grant stayed in, didn't get in foul trouble too, I think Paul's minutes would have been lower than 28. I think just foul trouble forced Malone to put Paul in there a little bit more. And look, I'm gonna say it again. You could use Bobo in a 5-minute stint. You need length. Help out your defense a little bit, because Bobo did bother the Lakers in that game. And now he got bullied a couple times by Dwight Howard, but on both ends he bothered them. His length, he got a couple. He's actually a good defender on Anthony Davis because of his length. I'm telling you, switch Dozier, give Dozier more minutes, and switch Plumlee's 9 minutes with Bol. I'm telling you, Bol can affect the game, especially against the Lakers. Now he's getting
point. You got to match length with length.
Exactly.
That's the only way.
He's gonna get bullied a couple times by Dwight Howard. That's gonna happen. But if Bol is on Anthony Davis, Davis is gonna struggle. That's a for whatever reason that worked. Go back and watch that game where they played in the seeding games. Go watch that game. I mean, Bol bothered Anthony Davis,
and I think Bol is actually taller than AD.
Oh, well, yeah.
Not only that, you have the length of his arm, but he's taller already.
And that has his athleticism too, because AD can't really bully Bol. Like, he can if he wanted to, and if that starts to happen, then switch him off. I guess say it didn't work.
Right,
but
that forces AD
you got to try it.
Work in the post more.
Exactly.
But I think AD loves to fall in love with the jumper.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's been doing that against Jokic. He'll go to the post and go baseline. I think if that's Bol, he's a little bit more athletic to where he could probably actually swat that a little bit, or at least make it a tougher contest. I don't know. At a certain point, I thought the defense was better, and you mentioned it. They got to make LeBron score, which I think that's what they're doing with Jokic to an extent. Make him score.
Mm-hmm.
But they love.
Look, LeBron only had 4 assists. You're doing a good job.
Good second half. He really was kind of non-existent.
He had 6 turnovers and only 4 assists. So you did well against LeBron. What I'm saying is you need to be better against Anthony Davis, and you need your others to step up. That's it. Anthony Davis is averaging over 30 points in the series.
Well,
I'm telling you,
guys is going to go off each night. I mean, that's a given. You can't stop both of them. So it's who do you want to stop? And we say they LeBron had a rough, but he had like 26 and whatever. So I mean, he still played really well. But at the same time, it's like you have to choose. That's why I think personally, I don't know why we're not seeing a zone. We're seeing a zone out of Miami against Boston right now. They're hitting that 2-3 so hard right now. If I'm the Nuggets, why are we not trying a zone? Because what is this team great at? They're great at length, and one of their weaknesses is shooting the ball. Now they've been hitting shots. Give them credit. They've been hitting their shots. But I think if you force this team to shoot the ball, and if they make a contested 3, you just got to shake their hand. But at this point, all they're doing is they're just getting LeBron and AD in pick and rolls, and they're just finding the mismatch, which let's be honest, most of their switches are going to be mismatches. So whereas at least with the zone, I mean, if they come to screen, it doesn't do necessarily much. So now you're forcing those guys you're really forcing the offense to be patient, look for open shots. And then that, to an extent, nullifies Dwight Howard's alley-oops, because that's the only way he's scoring in this series is just Rondo alley-ooping it to him.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know why we're not trying a zone. I think it could help in stints. Maybe you don't do it the entire game, but I think it could help in stints. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting. I get what you're saying. Like, yes, are the Lakers the better team? Yes. But you know what? For people like Skip Bayless and those that say the Nuggets don't belong here, listen, luck, it isn't luck that you beat a team 4 times, okay? They did it to the Jazz. They did it to the Clippers, okay? You get lucky winning 1 time. You don't get lucky winning 4 times. So they definitely belong here. Now, the issue we're running into is it's a bad matchup for the Nuggets. They have the best player in the world in LeBron James. They have a top 5 player in AD. The Nuggets only maybe have a top 7 player right now and a top 20 player in Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And then at the end of the day, one guy has more playoff experience on his entire resume alone than the entire Nuggets organization. And then you combine that with a Rondo. AD, yes, he's been to the playoffs, but he hasn't done anything in the playoffs. So they have that experience. Dwight Howard's been to a finals. So they have all this
Right.
experience. JaVale McGee's been
Danny
to a
Green.
final. Quinn Snyder's. What's Snyder's first name? The guy off the bench who came from the Warriors. Whatever his name is. They have guys that have been to the finals. Whereas the Nuggets are still young. I mean, their best player is 25 years old. Okay, they have one guy over 30 years old on the roster, and that's Paul Millsap.
And
He's awfully. So there's a lot of things going against the Denver Nuggets.
Here's the last thing I'll say though. Look, I don't think Nuggets fans should be upset at all. Look, game one was game one. But they came back and they played really well again in game two. They should have won. And I think, look, this series is probably going to end in 5. It might be a sweep. That's just, I'm how do I say this? I guess I'm happy that they got a close game against this team. And hopefully they get more, because I think that's only going to help them. The Nuggets right now, they're so young. I think everything that happens to them in a game, they're like sponges right now because they're so young. They're learning a lot. And they're learning, especially from game 1 to game 2, they were able to adjust. And they were able to just play a little overall, like Jokic and Jamal specifically, played a lot better in my mind. So I think with this and MPJ is playing well. So the young guys are learning a lot, and I think that's only going to help them in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. This is a and like, it sucks to say it, but this is a developmental series. You got to learn as much as you can from this series, so that way next year, the year after that, you go into those series as, we've been here, we know what to do, we know how to play in these moments, and we know the stakes. And that's really what this series is about. It's not about beating the Lakers. It never was. It was, you have to get here to learn from them. And it probably sucks to hear that from a lot of Nuggets fans, but that is the reality. You have to learn from this team. You were never going to beat this team. Best case scenario, like I said before the series started, best case scenario, you push it to maybe 6, maybe you get lucky and you get it to 7, and you learn as much as you can from this team. That's the best case scenario. And hey, you got a close game, you learn from it. Plumlee, you're an idiot. Whatever, move on. But you learn from it. And look, Nikola Jokic, the dude showed up, and he was the best player in the final 12 minutes, or final 5 minutes. He was the best player on the court in the final 5 minutes. That is something there. There is something there. At 25 years old, he's not ready yet. Look, LeBron was 27-28 when he won his first. Jordan was 27-28 when he won his first. KD was like 27-28. Steph and Clay in that group, they were like 27 too. So these guys, they're ahead of schedule. And what's great about that is they're learning from these type of teams. They're learning from the greatest player, in my mind, the greatest player of all time. They're learning from these guys. They're learning from Rondo. They're learning from Dwight Howard. They're learning from AD. This is something that you're going to, basically, you have to wait till LeBron is done. That's your window. 2 years from now. And it matches up perfectly. LeBron will be done. KD will be probably on his last legs too. Steph and Clay will be at the end of theirs. And you're right in your prime. And you're probably you're just ahead enough of Luka and the other young superstars coming in the league. It's going to be Boston and it's going to be the Nuggets. Those are the two teams right now that, timing-wise, in 2 years, those are going to be the two best teams.
And we'll see. And I agree with you, yes. But I also hate banking on this type of stuff, because you never know what could happen. Injuries,
right.
Trades, like, it's never guaranteed.
No,
but
it's not.
Right now, does it? If everything stays, and I'll say this to kind of ease the pain of Nuggets fans. Okay, there was a team that had 3 MVPs. They all turned out to be MVPs later on in their career. The 3 MVPs on one team. Okay, their first run in the playoffs, they lost in the first round. They were 50-32. Their second run in the playoffs, they lost in the Western Conference Finals. Okay, won 55 games. Their next year, they went to the NBA Finals. Now, of course, they ran into LeBron James and the Miami Heat, but that team is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had Kevin Durant, they had James Harden, they had Russell Westbrook. Now, am I saying that the Nuggets can equal what they had having 3 MVPs? I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, we've seen what Jamal Murray can be capable of. If he plays like that, is that MVP caliber? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. We know Nikola Jokic has been in the MVP discussions, and every time we hear these national guys talk about MPJ, the consensus is he can be that guy one day. He can be a top 5 talent in this league. So you have history where it can bank on. Now, obviously, we have to hope things stay the same and health and guys don't get irritated. Whatever. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's more
Right.
likely that it doesn't stay this way than it is that it does. But if it does, the Nuggets are going to be around. Okay, even if they just have the two, and for whatever reason MPJ's not there, they just need one piece. It's just one guy.
Yeah.
They're just missing one piece.
Well, and it's not. By the way, it's not just us saying that. It's national media too. Look,
Right.
national media is clowning on Nuggets right now, but most of them and I'm specifically going to say Stephen A. Smith. They believe this team will be there in a couple of years. They're just too young, and I've been saying it all year long. This is a big year in the sense that this is a grow year, and this is a grow series, right? This is where you grow. This is where you get better, and you learn from it. And this is the series that's going to get them to the NBA Finals. The Clippers was that series too. The Clippers in the series. These are the series where it will teach them enough to where they will be able to get to the NBA Finals in 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and they will win one. Stephen A. Smith has said it. They will get one. It's just not right now because they're just a little too young. They need a little bit more.
Yep.
That's the reality of it.
Knocking on the door, and it's time that people, fans, start taking this team seriously, start taking their best players seriously, and they're there. They're close to being there, and they can do it. They have the talent. They have the makings. You see it. You see it working out. When they play their best, they're a tough team to beat.
Mhm.
And like you said, they're playing the best player, playing a better team. It's just what's frustrating is you see moments where it's like, wow, they could actually win this series. They could win the series. It's a small chance, but they can win this series.
I'm telling you, if this team was 2 years older, they'd win the series. Jokic would be 27, Jamal would be 25, 26, Porter would be 23, 24. 2 years, 3 years older, Nuggets win this series, and it's not even close.
And we'll see how it goes from there. But I mean, they're on the doorstep, Nuggets fans, and it sucks right now because we see what this team could be, and we're not even factoring Bol into this. We don't know what that could be as a player, or if they turn that and flip that into a piece. So you don't know what could come from that situation as well. But this team is in good hands. They're doing well right now, and I'm gonna write an article on it once the season does eventually end. But given how this team started and all the red flags of Jokic coming in overweight and how they played to start the season, even though they were like 11-2, 10-3 at the time, they matched their start from last year. It didn't feel the same. They didn't look the same. They struggled. Then you get towards the All-Star break, they start playing their best basketball. And then, Jokic makes an All-Star team, and then they come out, and then they look sluggish again. And then the seeding games, they look awful. Guys are, not even there. They don't have the full team. You get down 3-1 to the Jazz. I mean, there were so many red flags of like, wow, this team just does not have it this year. And the fight that they've shown, now we'll see. I mean, listen, I fully expect the Nuggets to kind of crumble on Tuesday. That's kind of what I've been expecting. But the MO of this team is when you think we're going to crumble, that's when we do our best work. And
I just don't think the Lakers are going to let them do it.
No, but that's what we heard this whole series is we're not going to let them come back. They were up 16 yesterday.
That's
And
true.
the Nuggets
That's
came back
true.
and just
That's
quit.
true.
And what have we done? Every time we've counted the Denver Nuggets out, we didn't think the Clippers were going to do it. We didn't think the Jazz were going to let up. Every time you count the Nuggets out,
Yeah.
they find a way to say, we still want to be here. Now, will I blame them if this is the final time where they're like, okay, we've given it everything we've had. We're tired. I can't be mad. If
I
they get
understand.
Their faces kicked in tomorrow. It'll suck, but you know what?
I get
I'm
it.
just
I
you
get it.
can't be
Yeah.
mad at this team because they've shown so much fight.
Yep.
And that's all we can ask for at this point. They fought, they've played really well, they've showed the rest of the NBA that we're here to play. We're not going to be anybody's little brother anymore. And we're close. And hopefully, I get this is a flyover city. It has been in the NBA for years. But I hope there's just one star out there that says, you know what? I can help that team. I can really help that team make it to the next level. I don't know who it is. I don't know if that's even happening.
Man, I want it to be Chris Paul so bad. You have no idea.
Chris Paul,
Woo! If they,
Bradley Beal.
my God, if they got Chris Paul, then you can put Jamal at the 2, and he can be your scorer. If they get Chris Paul, both Jokic and Jamal make the All-Star team, and both of them are on an All-NBA team.
I
Guarantee
don't
it.
know who it is. I just hope it's some star. I hope is it Giannis? I just hope it's somebody. I hope it's somebody that's watching and saying, man, I'm the missing link.
Giannis won't leave. Stop it.
I hope
Giannis
someone
won't
on this team is
Everyone out
Draymond
there.
and goes to the parking lot of the bubble in Orlando and puts up the bat signal and calls a star and says, we need you.
leave. Shoot, it
Okay.
might be Tim Connolly.
I mean, somebody has to do it. Who's our Draymond? Who is it? That's what I want to know. But you know what? It is what it is, Nuggets fans. I mean, they're down 2-0, but you know what? There's so much more to the story than what the national media is going to make it. What guys like on TNT who are really, really upset with Jamal Murray, by the way. They were really mad and offended by Jamal Murray's comments. Like, you could tell how they reacted. Shaq and Chuck, like, they were really hurt about that.
Yeah. But you know what? They did say something that I did agree with them. You want us to actually believe in you? Go do it.
Mhm.
Go do it.
Yep.
Go do
Now,
it.
I agree with that to the extent of being a serious finals contender. You want that respect? Win it. Okay. But should they at least have your respect? Yes.
Well, they said that. They said, "Hey, you got our respect for beating the Clippers." But this is LeBron. This is a whole different thing. You want that respect? Beat him. LeBron has never. He has had in 8 straight times. 8 straight. Never lost before the finals. 8 straight.
Yeah.
You want that? You want the respect. You beat that guy.
Yeah. Not a lot of people have, except for the Golden State Warriors, who had to go call
A super team, by the way.
Yeah. That's who had to do it.
And if Kyrie or even just Kevin Love was healthy that year 1, that goes to Cleveland too. They would have won back to back.
Yep. That's gonna do it for us today. We thank you guys for tuning in. I know it was kind of a down podcast. We didn't get to our picks. Real quick.
Oh,
we
real
got
quick,
New
Saints.
Orleans
Easy.
Saints,
Easy,
Raiders.
Saints.
Are you really? No
Saints.
Michael Thomas.
No,
Emmanuel
Saints.
Sanders was on the injury
You
report.
you picking the Raiders? Pick the Raiders. I dare you.
I'm thinking.
Pick. No. You can pick. Make your pick right now. Pick the Raiders. Do it.
Part of me really wants to
Do
pick
it.
the Raiders.
Do it. Pick the Raiders.
Part of me really does want to pick the Raiders. But it's the Raiders. Can I trust the Raiders?
Pick them.
New Orleans. I'm gonna go with the Hall of Fame quarterback. I want to pick the Raiders so bad, but I do not trust them. I do not trust them. But there is no Michael Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders was on the injury report. He didn't participate in
That's
practice.
fine. That's enough to beat the Raiders.
Now that I picked New Orleans, watch, they're gonna get their faces kicked in tonight. The Raiders are gonna win like 24-7. And I'm like, dang it, man. That's going to do it for us today. We thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Shout out to everybody that's listened. Even if you clicked play by accident, we appreciate you. Shout out to the guy in Hong Kong. I still haven't learned how to say thank you for listening in Chinese. I'll do that next episode. Or woman, if it's a woman too. Whatever. Thanks for listening. That's going to do it for us today. We will catch you guys on the next episode. For Brandon Stoll, I'm Stephen Priest. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. I really do want to pick the Raiders. I really do. I was thinking about it. I was like, it's like that gif of that lady who tries that beer and she's like, and she's like, well.